Welcome to Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. This podcast explores the transition to net zero and the systems driving real change in how we move, live and power our world. Every week I sit down with the people leading that change, those offering insight, innovation and impact in many ways people don't fully see until they hear their stories. If you're ready for real conversations that inspire action and drive change, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and join us on this journey. And let's cut through the noise and build a better future together. Hi everybody and welcome back to Electric Evolution. This week I've got a woman, I just call her a superwoman. I have Shamala Gadgil and she is the Director of Decarbonising Transport Consultancy Limited. She's also the Senior Programme Manager and a consultant to Coventry City Council, and I've met her recently and we've talked so much. Shamala, thank you ever so much for joining me.
Thank you for asking me to join you, Liz.
Now, let's just start because like I say, you've got so many things going on in Coventry at the moment, haven't you? Let's start by just giving everybody a little bit of background about who you are, what you did before working for Coventry and how you actually moved into this area.
Yeah, okay. So my background, I'm a civil engineer, my background. I've been working in the engineering field for, I don't know, just over 30 years. And I started the Coventry sort of job, if you like, or the post in 2015.
Blimey.
I was working on highway projects. They were always, but the thing is though, so I'm also doing a PhD. I like doing research. I like doing new things. I look at it's a holistic approach. Usually engineers do have tunnel visions. They are very focused. They only do one thing, but I also have an architecture background. I like to see how things fit in the environment. So I've always looked at what central government is looking out for. We are part of the ZEMO partnership where Coventry is a member, and I am also a member who attend many of their working groups. So knowing what is going on and then what funding opportunities there are, I usually tend to find things that needs to fit in that transport space, that landscape. So when in 2017 this transition side was starting to become something that transport was talking about, it was, well, yes, that's why my company is called the Decarbonising Transport. And I then got involved in the electrification of the transport because I am very passionate about removing emissions. Public health, it's looking at, again, holistic is what I'm talking about. So I'm also doing PhD in the same field, which I started in 2020. I am now in my 6th year, looking hopefully to go into thesis pending stage. But basically what I'm getting at is, I like to do I like to find solutions, innovative solutions to any kind of challenges that come up within the transport industry.
And you do. And you're doing this. I mean, we're going to talk through some of the stuff that you've been doing because the innovation that you're bringing into the sector, because you're also the chair of the Transport Technology Forum's EV Charging Infrastructure Working Group. That's not a long phrase, is it?
It is. We started that working group in September 21, and we have been, again, it's a voluntary post. We wrote a starter guide for local authorities to roll out EV charging infrastructure. Coventry has got the largest network outside of London. We have got the City Council has delivered over 2,300 spaces since 2018. I'm running 4 contracts. I'm managing 4 contracts. So we have got 3 CPOs, but 4 contracts, charge point operators. So in looking from that side, it is something that I am quite passionate about.
And you're very good at doing this and putting your fingers in lots of pies. I don't know how you manage it, but let's start a little bit. So like you said, you've got all of these charges in, and when me and you've talked about this, and I haven't talked about this on the podcast, but we've set up a sister company called ChargeWise, or Full Circle CI has a sister company now called ChargeWise CX, and just seeing. And this is kind of identifying charges on the platform. And when I saw Coventry, my eyes just popped out, because I was just like, oh my God, look at all these charges that are in Coventry City Council area. It just blew my mind. So you've been so proactive, especially with LEVI, so local electric vehicle infrastructure, for those of you that don't know this terminology. So you've got a pilot. You've got so many things going on. Where do you want to start? Where should we start? Should we start talking about the kind of the pilot, or because I mean you've even done stuff on how many electric buses have you? We haven't even talked about this before.
All electric bus city. That is one of my projects. That's what I meant when I said I look at a holistic side of it. When we were talking before, I did say, for example, we want to reduce trip mileage on the highway network. We don't want to swap one EV for one petrol or diesel vehicle. That is absolutely not sustainable going forward. It has a huge impact on many different disciplines within the transport sector. So, but you can also tell people just like that, oh, don't have a second car or a third car, or you just can't do it. So you have to go about this in a different way. One of the things that I felt was, if you provide them with different modes of transport, then you don't have to tell them anything. They will themselves, because it's not easy to keep 2 or 3 cars in a household. It is convenient, yes. If people understand why you are doing something, it's so important to make sure that they understand why something needs to be done. Then people will bear an element of inconvenience. They're okay. They're not too, they won't resist. So you need to first let them know why you're doing something, but then also provide them with solutions. It can't just be, you must do this, you must do that, So that is something what then prompted that pilot project, because there are 3 models in there. Accessibility is also so very important. I mean, some of the charges, they are not accessible. But then if you're putting them in an existing environment, funding forms part of this. You don't have funding to make major changes. So when you're talking about bringing people who don't have off-street parking facility on the same page as people who do, then you are going to have to provide charges where they live. That means curbside charges. That again means in an existing highway environment. There are many footpaths or pavements that are not wide enough. There are many roads that are not wide enough either. So then when you do find that we can facilitate charges there, that accessibility piece becomes difficult because you don't have the space. You are just about managing to provide charges where people park on the road. If you then start to look at making the space accessible, that's what I'm talking about, by the way, not the product. All the products are accessible products.
So all of the charges.
Yeah. So the height and all of that, it's absolutely correct, because it forms part of the tender document, that requirement. So it is not the product accessibility, I'm talking about space accessibility. Does become a challenge. Complying with PAS 1899 is very, very, very challenging on a road network or a curbside charging model.
So I think we probably need to let's just step back a second, because I think for those people who are watching and listening who might not understand some of this terminology, I think maybe let's talk about PAS in a minute, but let's go back to the different funding pots, because you've been doing this job for a long time now, and there's been, so we've got this main LEVI funding at the moment, which is the local electric vehicle infrastructure funding, but you have obviously managed to get, I'm assuming you've had a number of funding pots coming through since
Absolutely.
you've been in post.
So
what have the different funding pots been to do? And then we can kind of come forward to the accessibility piece and the PAS stuff.
Agreed. Sorry about that. It's just
no.
Going off tangent.
Well, yeah, but I'm the same as you. So we just
So there was a funding pot back in 2016, 2017 called ULEV, which is Ultra Low Emission Vehicle Taxi Infrastructure Project.
Yeah.
And Coventry City Council applied for it for 39 rapid chargers. We were successful in securing that funding, so I then went out to tender, and we had a charge point operator who, we started the installation of those 39 50 kilowatt chargers, rapid chargers. They are installed at locations where the taxi drivers had mentioned when we had carried out the survey that they take breaks. So, and again, what I mentioned before, they are curbside. I've only got maybe 2 or 3 locations where they are within a car park, but all the others are on street, because that's where they tend to stop.
Yes.
So that's one funding pot. Whilst that funding pot was there, another funding pot was available, which is the OAKS, which is On-Street Residential Charge Point Scheme, ORCS. I applied for that in 2018, in 2019, in 2020, 2021, and we were successful in securing those funding pots. And
every time.
I delivered those charges every year within that time frame that you had to do it.
And how many were they? Were they kind of like the lower kind of power chargers, kind of like the 7 kilowatts?
Yes,
sort of?
They are 7 kilowatts. Some are 11, some are 22, some are 3.5. Lamppost chargers, for example, So those charges were delivered from 2019 to 2022.
Right.
As part of the OAKS project, and I have got 3 contracts for that. In 2022, they became, whatever funding was left in that pot, they became LEVI that you mentioned. So the DFT published the local electric vehicle charging infrastructure strategy, where they said they want 300,000 public chargers available by 2030. And to that end, here is a £450 million pot. And from that, then OZEV, which is the unit that DFT have set up, Office for Zero Emission Vehicles. They used to be OLEV before, when I had the taxi infrastructure funding. OLEV was Office for Low Emission Vehicle, which became Office for Zero Emission Vehicle. But they manage this funding streams, and they wanted then to find out some innovative solutions, because they were also aware that at some point curbside is going to be saturated. So they asked authorities to come up with innovative And that's where Coventry's LEVI pilot comes in. I'm also part of the working group, electric vehicle, well, the LEVI working group, which is the OZEV's working group. But the pilot came about because of that, and where we submitted an application to say that we want to develop 3 models. But these models are for 2030 onwards, if you like.
Okay.
So what these models are supposed to be doing is repurposing existing assets that the local authorities have. So
we're not talking the chargers here themselves, are they? We're talking about the land that the local authorities have.
Yeah.
So the car parks, those are what you're saying when you mean assets, don't you?
Yeah, exactly that. Local authorities don't only have just one building. They do have lots. They provide services such as, for example, libraries, and they also have the schools. I know some schools have become academies, but otherwise schools. They have things like children's services, their family hubs, those kind of things which are not in the main council houses, if you like. And a lot of these services have car parks. So during the daytime, great, they are using it, but at night time, all these car parks tend to be locked down. They're behind the gates.
Yeah.
And nobody's parked in there. And also these services quite often, and I'm not saying everywhere, I'm just generalizing it, quite often you find them in residential areas. So they don't tend to be in like business areas or leisure areas. But leisure also is part of council service.
Yeah, we've got one in Reading, a leisure centre that's there's a big car park there.
Exactly. Yeah. And quite often all these car parks are either behind the gates or barriers or something like that. So then provide a secure, it's a secure car park. I've done so many chargers on street. Okay, I have done so much consultation as part of that process, because local authorities cannot just go and install something on the highway. The Highways Act, the legislation says that if you're going to do something like that, you have to consult. I have done so much consultation. One of the themes that quite often came out was, I don't want to park my car, which, at the time, that far away from my house.
Yes, yeah.
Or I don't want to
be walking 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you were to give them a secure car park, then
they can charge
that
easily.
Narrative changes slightly. Hence, that thought that you should repurpose these, have car park management system, have smart access, egress, set a car park management strategy in place, so that in the morning that car park is empty for the service area to open and provide that service. Yeah. But as soon as the service finishes, you open that up to the residents. So, and I'm not saying that everybody will be interested in this, but there will be residents who will want this type of service. So that was one model that we sort of put forward. The second model was open car parks that are managed by the council. Develop that into a multimodal hub. Like I mentioned earlier, you can't ask people to just give up their vehicles. So provide them with different modes of transport.
Yes.
But then there are surface car parks. So there is there is a possibility, not everywhere, but you need to explore if you can make them self-sustainable. Now, I was going to say,
do you want to explain?
Yeah.
Because I don't think we've really gone into that much detail about what is a multimodal hub. Me and you talked about this before we started recording, but so what is a multimodal hub? Just to kind of explain.
When I mentioned that, you can't tell people, you need to what we can do as a council is, you provide them with measures. So multimodal or e-mobility, if you like, what that means is you provide them with different modes of transport, such as electric cars as part of a car club, electric bikes, electric mopeds. You make them available in that car park so that when somebody comes there, depending on where they are going, they can choose.
Yes.
So you give people the choice.
Choice.
And if they know the choice is there, they will give up their second, third car, because quite often those cars are there for convenience purposes. And like I mentioned again earlier, if people know why you're doing something, they will come on board.
Yeah.
Even if it is slightly inconvenient, because those inconveniences, are forgotten after 2-3 months. Because they become norm.
It's building trust, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed. So that is the second model, and then what I meant by self-sustainable as well. Provide solar canopies if you can, generate energy on site, store it in a battery, and use that energy for the charges that will be there in that car park.
Yeah.
Now, I have done one project like that. In 2018, DFT announced another funding pot.
Yes.
Under Better Deal for Buses, which was called ULEB.
Okay.
ULEB is ultra low emission buses. As part of that, we liaised with National Express, who have got a bus depot in Coventry. And they have a fleet of about 170 buses, mix of double-deckers and single-deckers. And we decided that we will submit an application for 10 buses to be electric under that ULEB pot. Senex helped us to develop the bid. But in there, as I said, I'm a bit cheeky sometimes. I feel that if you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly.
So I said, look, let's do a self-generated or self-sustainable project. So we also submitted for funding as part of infrastructure, where we would have gotten 75% of funding. Solar on the roof of the bus depot and battery storage facility for those 10 buses.
Cool.
So we had all the calculations done and we knew how many we needed. Anyway, we submitted, and believe it or not, we got the funding. So now we have got, the bus depot has got solar panels on the roof. They have now got a battery storage facility. The panels generate enough energy for 10 buses to operate throughout the year.
Fantastic.
Okay, so that is what. So that then also made me think that if you've got open car parks, there is a opportunity. What you need to do is you explore different options. If you are able to provide it, it becomes a self-sustained project and less reliance on the grid. And so many
need that, don't we?
Exactly. So that was that part of the project. Now, our first 10 electric buses became operational end of August 2020.
Wow.
Which is when the all-electric bus city announced, the DFT announced all-electric bus city project. Again, we applied. Now, one thing I need to explain is that Coventry is not a transport authority.
Right, okay.
It's a unitary authority. So the transport authority is Transport for West Midlands.
Okay.
which is West Midlands Combined Authority.
Right.
So,
It's very confusing, isn't it?
I know. So we are 7 authorities within the West Midlands,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
transport is managed by Transport for West Midlands, which is
Right.
TFWM.
Yeah. Yeah.
Acronyms. We are very fond of acronyms.
Of
So,
course.
yes. So they submitted the application. So two cities were picked, and Coventry was one of them. So we have been doing that now. We will be all electric bus city by next year.
Wow.
I think we've got roughly just under 30 buses now left to electrify. So there are
Left. So how many have you got now then?
204
Oh my God.
electric buses.
Oh my God.
So
Can you come and talk to Reading, please? I think we've only got about half a dozen.
yeah,
Like if
so
that.
this is about. It's also uh, when we are doing this, there is always a match funding requirement, and our match funding has always come from private sector,
Right. Fair enough.
not from the council.
Yeah.
So all my
Pretty
projects,
good job.
yeah, all the Oaks and the LEVI, it's all from match funding is from private sector. So and the third part to the pilot project was wireless charging. Now, if you think about it, accessibility. What is the government trying to do? What is DFT trying to do? All this funding is not for something that the private sector can do. Local authorities don't need to get involved. The reason why they need to be involved, and yes, it is their responsibility, because we've been asked, you don't provide petrol pumps, so why are you involved with this? No, we are, because the constituents, you have got three types of constituents. One that has garages and driveways. One that live above above retail units, apartments, those types, and the others are properties that don't have off-street parking facility.
Yeah.
They are all the council's constituents. Now, people who can have driveways and everything, they can do their own charges, not a problem. But the ones who don't have driveways, yes, you have now a duty, a responsibility to provide charges for them. The government has given that funding. Now, quite often you find that electricity, the energy point, that those bits are very expensive, and private sector is not happy to provide that funding, because some locations can be astronomical.
Yeah.
So that is what this funding should be used for, where private sector doesn't want to or can't because there is no return on their investment.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That is where this funding should be used, that the government, it's grant funding. That means they are not asking it back. Therefore, you need to work in partnership with your charge point operator. So it's those bits that makes a successful delivery of this. But it's that accessibility, that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
And Motability Group is the largest fleet operator in the UK. But even they themselves, they are now on this path of electrification. Okay?
Yeah.
They lease their vehicles, but there is still a group of people who are unable to use the current charging infrastructure. Cables, they're not able to lift them.
Yeah.
So,
Very heavy.
yeah.
Some of them. Yeah.
As part of this pilot, the third model, that it is an R&D model, because we know plug-in charging works. The first two models is just application, it's different applications, just have a different way of, but we know those chargers work. This third part is to do with wireless charging. It's providing wireless pads in disabled bays. So we've got 4 disabled bays in the city centre. We are going to procure, if possible, vehicles from Mobility Group, 4 vehicles, and they will be retrofitted with the receivers.
Yes.
Afterwards, we will work with Coventry University, and we will structure a survey, because we will be trialling this, getting those group of people typically to trial and see how that works. Right now, at this minute, I don't know what constitutes success for that that third model.
Yeah.
That the central government will accept, but the output from that third model is that there is it's a 3-way thing, that what needs to come out is possibly a mandate for highway authorities to install wireless pads, a mandate for OEMs to have within their base specification of a vehicle, a space for a receiver.
Yeah, so the manufacturer has to
OEM,
they have to do that bit.
OEMs is the manufacturers of vehicles, electric vehicles. And then you've got the technology provider. So you've got to have this, this
Collaboration, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm doing, based on what constitutes success, we will, with the help of Coventry City Council and the Multimodal Group, there will be many stakeholders in this. We will design that survey structure.
Yeah.
And then that survey, I don't even know right at this minute whether it's going to be a 6-month data they will need, 1-year data they will need, what. But I am hoping that Mobility Group will help us there with promoting this on their system so that their users can take part in this trial.
So when you're saying that, so you're saying 4 vehicles potentially. So are we also looking at, because if you look at just 4 individuals in those 4 vehicles, I suppose they have to be very specifically fitted for those people.
That's right.
Because I suppose in my head I was thinking, so who would you be able to have more than 4 people? So you'd have like a 12-month trial.
Sorry, Liz. What I meant by I don't know yet how that is structured is we might turn around and say to the 4, right, you're going to have these for 4 days. We would like you to trial.
Yeah, get you.
I don't know, maybe 4 times a day, because we need to, we need to collect the energy utilization.
Yeah.
Or how many times? Is it the mileage we are looking at? What is it that constitutes? Is it only the amount of people? So what says that, that is required because we have got this data? I need to understand that because I don't know yet. So we will be speaking to DFT to ask and understand that designing, that architecture of the survey. It might not be just one thread. We might have multiple threads that we might have to do over a period before that becomes we have successfully delivered that piece of or that model.
But whatever that is, and we talked about this before, about this kind of informing the future standards for kind of wireless charging and integrating and making sure that level of inclusivity for people who are limited mobility, etc., that they can charge, because I said to you before, didn't I? I worked in Coventry for a little while, and I remember going, and I'd not had REV for too long, and I went to a hub, and it was on a curb. So there were probably about half a dozen ultra rapid chargers there, but the curb was probably, I'm sorry for those who are listening. I'm showing, it was a pretty tall curb, to be honest. And and there was a woman in a kind of a mobility. It was like a transit van, and we got talking because I just saw her. She wasn't in a wheelchair, but her mobility was so limited. She was on crutches, and she couldn't really manage on crutches that well, But and we were having this conversation, so I helped her try, because trying to just get, even if you've got, she did have quite a lot of limited mobility, but not enough to put her in a wheelchair. But just getting round and
I
just
know.
doing,
I mean,
getting the cable and plugging it in. And she said this was the only van that she could have, and she didn't really want one to be that big, and we just were chatting about it. And I actually just thought, my God, this is really hard.
it
Somebody in a
is.
wheelchair would not have been able to
This is
access
what I
that
meant.
charger.
In car parks, right now we are supposed to provide a percentage of spaces for disabled
Mm,
bays. Yeah.
mm,
When I mentioned earlier on, right at the beginning, I mentioned a standard which is PAS 1899.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is to do with having accessible space. So,
yeah,
like disabled bays, everybody would probably know how they are. They have got this cross-hatched area on either side, so that if it is wheelchair, they are not, they have got access basically.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
you're not, so in a car park, absolutely this is possible. Yeah, and you must provide a PAS 1899 compliant spaces. Not
mm,
all though. This is where everything is like all spaces should be like that. Doesn't work.
no,
Everybody
no,
needs to be pragmatic about this.
mm,
So when we
mm,
say 10% spaces should be disabled bays in a car park design, similarly, you can then turn around and say, oh, 10% needs to be PAS compliant.
mm,
Or those 10% that you have made disabled bays, turn around and say 10% of that must have charges, period.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Similarly, with this wireless pad, I'm hoping once we collect all this data, you know, other things will also hopefully happen. So
mm,
ultimately, what I'm wanting really is car manufacturers to provide a receiver. Obviously,
yeah,
there will need to be standards. Yes, it will take a
yeah,
little bit of time. You need to start somewhere, and that's where we are starting. But ultimately, cars will have receivers, and similar to what I just mentioned about car parks, there will be a percent of the bays with wireless charging
mm,
being made available.
mm,
It becomes more a planning thing that
yeah,
they would, when they have the local plans that they would put in there, and it can become a supplementary planning document, SPD, that
mm,
this is what, because planning documents are updated at some are 3, some are 5, or I'm not a planning person, but I know because there's sometimes I have an input in that.
yeah, yeah,
So ultimately this is what I'm hoping will happen, so this data hopefully should kickstart something in that field. I mean, it's not just for that group, as you just mentioned, the lady you saw, she wasn't
she
disabled
wasn't in a
enough
wheelchair,
to
but
be in
she
a
had very,
wheelchair.
very
Yeah.
limited,
But then we also talk
mobility.
about old people,
Yeah, we all get
people
old, don't we?
fragile people. They might
Yeah,
not be able to lift those uh, cables of 50 kilowatt or
mm,
300 kilowatt charges. So
yeah,
it is going to be for them as well. So I think the wireless charging element, you can't make them just for mobility. If you've got a mobility issue, then only you can know. They can't be like disabled bays, but they need to be bays where somebody fragile also should be able to go and charge.
I mean, it's like a lot.
It's a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? There are so many pieces.
Oh, and you're good at that. You're good at these jigsaw puzzles. I was going to say, because it's a bit like some charge point operators have now retrofitted their chargers that originally didn't have cable management. Because they've realised that people are finding it difficult. And I'm saying the charge point operators, it might be the manufacturers, because you've got to bring the manufacturers into this.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was working up in Coventry, I was actually travelling to Nuneaton, and this is a couple of years ago now, and it was so cold. I think I might have told you, I might have said this once before on the podcast, and it wasn't a council charger, it was a private charger, but it was about -4 when I got there. I got there at some ridiculous, I think I'd set off at like 6:30, and I ended up using a charger that I don't normally use, but it was so cold that I slipped. The charger didn't have cable management. It was one of the one. Well, yeah, there aren't many that don't these days, but you might suss out who it was. And my arm slipped. And I whacked myself in the mouth with the massive cable. I thought I was going to have a fat lip, So actually, even just for someone I see myself as relatively able-bodied, might not look it occasionally, but actually, for anybody, something like that with such a weight, it needs, because I think in some ways the retrofitting of the cable management systems have made a big difference, just taking a little bit of that weight off.
Yeah, well, yes, it is. I mean, all of these solutions, there are so many solutions now coming into the market because we are expressing what the challenges are. In a lot of events and conferences, there is that one of the things that COVID did, which was really, really good, was have these, even online webinars and online conferences where people come together and you are able to tell, what challenges are, and then they go away and they come up with solutions. Before you know it, you've got a solution for something that you were talking about, I don't know, 6 months ago. So this is quite an evolving still, and it will continue to evolve. But finding solutions, like you mentioned right at the beginning when we started the podcast about the dynamic wireless charging. That is also something that I'm doing at the moment. We did a feasibility study. We got a consortium together, and we wanted to find out if we had an electric lane, what impact it will have on the grid system.
Yeah.
So we got the funding from the energy sector to do this feasibility study. If anybody is interested, this is available on National Grid's website to have a look. What the conclusion was that actually there is no detrimental impact because nobody is charging at the same time. They pass over the charges.
Yeah.
But what it also demonstrated was that it is very beneficial for the service areas who has large vehicles and who do repeated routes, like bus operators, like refuse vehicles, that they have a set route. And what we found, because one of our consortium partners was National Grid, National Express.
Yes.
It was at the same. We did this the same time that we were looking to get the energy connection for the depot for all electric bus city. They needed up to 6 megawatt connection.
Wow.
But if you say you had this electric lane, dynamic wireless charging, that means you have a receiver under the bus, and in the road you have these coils that provides the charging as the vehicle passes over these coils or these embedded wireless chargers. What that did was it reduced these are the outputs, basically the results. It can reduce the battery size that is required, and because it is constantly being charged, when the vehicle comes into the depot, the state of charge is healthy.
So it just needs a top up back at the depot then.
You don't need such a large connection in the depot. There are many benefits for doing this, and one of the things we found was that larger vehicles, it is beneficial from a business case perspective. The normal cars that we drive, no. If there is no buses and only normal cars, no, there is no, you don't need it. But then it will be very beneficial for delivery people.
Yes, so DHL, Royal Mail.
All of those, yeah. Because right now, that is a challenge for authorities, where do we, because sometimes depots, if you in a depot, when you're providing charging units, it displaces the vehicles because you need space for the chargers.
Yeah.
So again, if you have something like this, there is another company that is doing similar, it's not wireless, but it is something that is, the charger is in a parking space.
Okay.
So so there are many things going on. But who is this going to benefit? It is going to benefit people who are currently unable to charge their vehicles other than having to go into a hub or a parking facility where chargers are there.
Yeah.
Then their time, their service business case is affected hugely. So what I'm getting at is that dynamic wireless charging, I think we need to start thinking about it, because there is a exclusive, there is a sort of inclusivity issue as well. Because, if you think about it, large vehicle drivers, truck drivers, you don't have to be a strong person to drive a truck. But when you look at these big megawatt chargers, if you are not strong, how are you going to use those cables?
Yeah, you need to be a bodybuilder to actually use it.
So then immediately the requirement for the job specification,
it's not inclusive anymore, is it?
Exactly. So we will start thinking about this at some point, and all the stakeholders will start looking at, this is now a challenge, because plug-in charging standard, it's going swimmingly well. That impetus, that kickstart that was needed, it's there. Private sector is happy to bridge all those gaps now. Now you need to start looking at the service areas that are now struggling to electrify.
It's a jigsaw puzzle, this, isn't it? I always say,
certainly is.
and it's about looking at the bits that are missing and finding the solution to to fit that bit that's missing.
Absolutely.
I was gonna ask you, so for the dynamic wireless charging, say if you're using it for a bus, how? Because I suppose I had it in my head that it might be like, is it in Norway or Sweden where they've got like a lane that's kind of like a charging lane, but it doesn't sound like that's what you're saying. How much when they're driving, because you could have a bus that's driving over that that dynamic charging area every 15 minutes, because it's literally just going backwards and forwards. How how much of the road would that be when you're
Well, no,
thinking about it?
all I'm saying is, for example, on the motorways, you've got the inside lane where normally large vehicles are supposed to drive. Electrify those lanes.
Yeah.
That's it.
So,
On the
so what,
motorways.
that lane is constantly a
Yeah,
charging lane.
exactly. And
But I mean, like
on
in
the
your city
highway,
centre,
yes, in the
yeah.
highway, electrify the city center area. But no, it depends because you have got buses coming in, you electrify those. You've got delivery people coming in, so that's why you electrify that. You don't tend to now have many normal cars coming in because
No,
lots of
no.
cities have made that you don't come into the city, we don't have parking in the city kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the people who need this, so you just outside of the city center, I am saying the A roads have this, and the solutions are now. I've been following this company called Electrion. They're Israeli company. Their transport route is all dynamic.
Is it?
Yes,
Okay.
they've also gone. They've opened another one in Germany. Sweden was their pilot. They've got so much data. They have then also done in Italy. They've done in America, in Michigan. So they have now got many locations where, if anybody's interested, can go and have a look at the data. What is coming out of that? Absolutely crucial to have something like that for large vehicles. It does the potential for battery to be reduced because larger vehicles, what are they? They are cargo vehicles. They carry things. If you fill half the vehicle with batteries, the capacity of carrying things reduces.
Yeah,
So
true.
you provide these lanes, the battery size reduces, their capacity increases, and it is inclusive. So I think it will come, and I feel because the TTF that you mentioned, the Transport Technology Forum, we just recently had a strictly highways conference in Blackpool, and I feel when I speak at these events, I should now start introducing the dynamic charging or wireless charging as a topic. It needs to be brought now to forefront so that the necessary stakeholders can start looking at that. So what next? This is what.
I know you've got more things. I'm going to ask one final question because I think this will be really, really interesting actually to hear what you say. Because so when you look at everything that you've been doing, because you have been, in the role for a long time, you've been doing so many different things. What one thing makes you the most proud of all of the things you've been doing?
One thing, Liz, what can I say? Everything that I'm doing is towards that public health. I just feel that this is going to improve people's lives. So all my, come on, let's, that decarbonize. There is a reason. It is one of the largest factor. People are all out and about and they are inhaling, idling vehicles when you sit in there in the traffic jam. All of this, you are in the middle, in the thick of giving yourselves, I don't know, illnesses, shorter lives, just the health issues. And I feel that I am contributing, that's all, towards reducing that.
I love that. That's brilliant. Do you know me and you chat for ages anyway, so and I could probably maybe I need to get you back on when you've kind of moved, when some of these projects have come to fruition, and then we'll just talk about it again. But I'm
Yes.
going to talk to you loads in between anyway. So
Yes.
I just want to say on this at this point, Shamala, thank you. It was wonderful to, met you a couple of times in person. It's been wonderful to kind of get to know you. And I just think you're doing some amazing, innovative things for Coventry. So thank you ever so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Liz. And just one thing, there is no way I would have been able to do anything without, Coventry's senior management and the members. They are very forward thinking. They've got the vision, because local authorities definitely, you just can't just do it. You do need that backing, and they need to have that vision,
Yes.
So if I'm saying that I'm proud of this public health side of it, it is because they were with me and they allowed this to happen.
Bless you.
So thank you for having me.
No, it's not a problem at all. And so just as a final point to everybody, as I always say every week, people need to hear these conversations. If you know any local authorities, or you are from a local authority, then please, just kind of make sure that you've listened and you share it. If you know people, that it might be worth sharing with them, because a lot of the innovation from what Shamala and Coventry City Council are doing, we need to replicate a lot of this across the UK. So find us, find the podcast, engage with us. Find that we've got an Electric Evolution page on LinkedIn. We're kind of anywhere on social media. So yeah, if you can engage with us and just spread the word, that would be fantastic. So to everybody and Shamala, thank you for watching and listening, and I'm going to say see you later. Bye. Thanks for watching Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you're a charge point operator, local authority or stakeholder in EV charging, I'd love to talk to you about our Charge Point Evolution framework. It's designed to help you create a seamless EV driver journey, boost utilisation and maximise your return on investment. Alternatively, if you know someone who'd be a great podcast guest or might be interested in sponsoring an episode, you can email me on liz@fullcircleci.co.uk. Thanks again for watching.